Most of us are in the process of gradually shifting from the pandemic work from home to the hybrid work setup. And change is difficult, I recognize that. We are moving from taking meetings into our bedrooms, which we got very used to running around between meeting rooms in our jeans, which we haven't touched in many years now. So, how do we transition back to the office? Here are my 5 simple tips that will help you lead a more productive hybrid work setup. Welcome back to my channel, folks. Sorry for not being regular here, but I've been doing a crazy amount of travel. And I must admit, I've been enjoying it quite a bit. So first I was in New Orleans to present my research paper at KITE 2022. And it was super fun to hang out with faculty members, PhD students and industry researchers to discuss the topmost advances happening in the field. Then I was in New York City for a few weeks to hang out with my team in person, doing a lot of strategy and brainstorm sessions, but also exploring New York City because it was my first time. Are you interested in knowing more about what I did in New York City and New Orleans? Comment below if you'd like to know more and see some of my travel clips. And as you can see, I'm in a new apartment. It's been a ton of work setting it up because I'm living by myself, but also very fulfilling to just be able to create a space which is truly our own. I also feel like I'm in the best neighborhood in Bangalore. It's debatable, but I think Indiranagar is the best neighborhood in Bangalore. Okay, back to work now. So some of us are in the process of transitioning into the hybrid work setup where we are working from the office for a few days and working from home for a few days. It's an interesting mix because we've been used to the comfort zone of working from our home, and in the first place it took so much effort and resilience to even adapt to that, and now suddenly we are going through the change process all over again. I recognize how difficult it can be for some people to draw boundaries between work and life while we were working from home, and I recognize that's a very real challenge, and maybe hybrid work will provide us with a alternative solution to being able to draw better boundaries between work and life. Personally, I've been having a lot of fun being back in the office and hanging out with my colleagues in person and also getting to know them beyond just our usual day to day. It's also been super fun to just have conversations in the hallway, getting to know more about what's happening not just in my team but other teams, which is so difficult to do during the work from home setup. I know we're all super resilient as a community here, but a few productivity tips will go a long way in making sure that you make this transition a wee bit more smoother. Number 1, having a routine. I was the person who would get up 5 minutes before a meeting, and I know a lot of you did that too. And even though it sounded very flexible to do so, it really wasn't sustainable and convenient for my own boundaries in some way. So what I found helpful in this new work setup is that I have a fixed cab that picks me up every morning at a fixed time and drops me off every evening at the same fixed time. What this does for me is, 1, it creates a more sustainable way for me to predict where and what work I'll do from what setup. And 2, it helps me figure out better boundaries between what meetings I'm taking from the office, what are the times when I'm clearly not available, and what are the places where I'd be, say, probably working from home, doing deep work, and so on and so forth. So I highly recommend having a routine and trying to optimize for a routine that works best for you according to your sleep schedule, according to your traffic conditions in the city, and also according to the availability of your colleagues in the office. But just make sure that you have some form of predictability that will help you have a more sustainable work-life balance in the long run. And that's helped me tremendously, and I can personally vouch for it. Number 2, remote inclusion. This is a very critical one. So many of us might be transitioning back into the hybrid work setup, but some colleagues might have chosen to go fully remote, or some colleagues might still be in the process of coming back to the office and deciding a frequency that works for them because of their own personal situations, including medical conditions, care responsibilities, and so on and so forth. And I know how easy it is to overlook colleagues who are over video conference while a bunch of you are meeting in the same meeting room. So the next time you're in a meeting room with a colleague who might be joining remotely, go the extra mile to make sure that you're including them in the decision-making process, as well as the discussion or the socials that you might be having. Some easy ways to do this include maintaining eye contact, not just with the people in the room, but also at the camera that might be in your meeting room, making sure that you're pasting chat links which are accessible to everyone and not just sharing them with colleagues who are in the same room. It could include using online collaboration tools like say Jamboard instead of using just the whiteboard, which might be right behind you in the meeting room. So those kind of like small things make sure that the process of collaboration is really including all of our colleagues in spite of where they're working from. Hallway conversations are sometimes really effective in taking quick decisions about things that might be concerning you or your team member. But when it comes to taking decisions about things that also influence colleagues who might be remote and who might not be in that hallway conversation, please do ensure that you have a collaborative document to get them into the decision-making process as well, even if the easy thing to do is just quickly discuss it with a colleague and get it done. but that would not be very inclusive of our remote team members. Number 3, get some air. This might sound counterintuitive, but spending time with colleagues beyond what they do on a day-to-day basis has been a major driving force for me to be back in the office. So please don't limit yourself to just working from the office in a way that you have your headphones on and that's all you're doing. I'd say if you want to take a break, quickly tap a colleague and see if they are also interested in taking a break at the same time. Go down, grab a beverage of your choice. For me, it's always coffee, of course. And just take them out for a walk below and chat about life, chat about work. I've also found it to be very, very helpful to do my one-on-ones. Just walking downstairs and getting some fresh air and making sure that we're able to truly blend into a more human setup rather than just talking in a closed meeting room chat. Always don't find to be super effective unless it's big groups. So try it out, get some fresh air, ask a colleague out for a break, and make sure that you're having fun in the office and not just doing your own thing. Number 4, boundaries. Drawing boundaries is very, very critical, especially when we're blending into the office and to the homes. It's very helpful to clarify with your team members on what days you'll be available for in-person collaboration and in-person meetings over say remote ones. It's also helpful to set clear boundaries for what days you prefer no meetings whatsoever and you just like to get your focus work or deep work done during that. Sometimes it's not clear to people what it means for when you have your headphones on. Can they tap you on the shoulder and ask you a question? Just make sure that you're setting these boundaries very, very clearly and communicating very fluidly on what it means for your work style. It helps to communicate these very clearly with your team members. I found it to be helpful to do it on messaging platforms that you might be using for your company. For example, setting up status on Slack or GChat or whatever tool that you're using is a helpful way to signal to your colleagues on what is your availability during specific times. And of course, Calendar Ninja is our favorite friend when it comes to maintaining our productivity and our boundaries at work and life. What I found also very helpful is to just have a clear talk with your work preferences, and I typically share it out with some of my close colleagues who I collaborate with very, very often. And this just typically lists out my preferences in a very short half-page document on how I prefer to work and communicate, but also with the caveat that I'm open to flexibility if people have some form of circumstances in which they want more flexibility from me. So that's always helpful to do as well. Alright, I hope that was helpful. We discussed 4 productivity tips to make sure that we are efficient in a hybrid work setup. We discussed 1, being very efficient with having a routine. 2, making sure that we're including our remote team members in the same way, spending social time with our colleagues and getting some fresh air in the office. Number 4, drawing clear boundaries for when you're available and not. Are you already working in a hybrid work setup? I'd love to know more about how you're being productive in this new world. Please comment below with your own experiences of what you do to make sure that you're productive in this new world that you're living in. If you thought that was helpful, please do like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it.